Create a GIF of this.
That was spooky, I guess.
I don't know what it was. It was I believe you're looking for the word cringy.
I'm scared. Can you finish this now so you don't do anything else that's creepy?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Broverwatch podcast. My name is Adam Cook, and I am joined by Lack of Boy, Calder Amos Wood. Calder, how have you been doing this
It's like you're
afternoon?
trying to give me depression before every episode of the podcast.
What
the way you treat me.
See, here's what I like. When our listeners don't know why you're so mad all the time. And then they just think you're naturally mad, but
That's what you sound like, pussy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what the joke is here.
I learned this weekend that jokes don't actually have to be jokes.
Do you want to explain that?
Not really.
Oh.
That's just what people do.
Sometimes Calder makes jokes with people who don't know how to do jokes, and then they don't like it, even though it's a joke.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a you thing. I think that's a most people thing. It's about knowing your audience. Speaking of audience, if you're new here and you enjoy the podcast, be sure to leave us a like, a comment, maybe even a subscribe if you're feeling lucky.
Also on the podcatchers, you can do that too.
Yeah, if you go to our
Review
website.
us on iTunes. That's what everyone says.
If you go to our website, thebroverwatch.com, then we have all of our links there. I think it's in the top left of the homepage. There's a little audio link, and you can go to all those. And
icon.
Yeah, so if you're new here, I hope you enjoy your stay. If you're not new here, you came back. The Broverwatch.
Let's get right into the news.
Yeah. Also, the past couple episodes, messy start. The past couple episodes, we've each chosen two teams to talk about for the podcast. But since we're coming up on the playoffs, we're gonna mostly talk about that. But first, we're gonna talk about one game from this week that we want to highlight, and that game is the
probably not the one you're thinking.
Probably not the one you're thinking. You're probably thinking, ooh, Atlanta Chengdu was a fun game. Ooh, Boston Dallas,
So
that was
London.
important. Ooh.
So London was important.
Ooh.
I'm looking for my
You're
chapstick.
incorrect in all of those. We're going to be talking about Washington versus Florida, the best game there's been.
Nope. It was I don't know how to describe. It wasn't.
It was a clown fiesta.
But it also wasn't unentertaining.
It was fun to watch if you are okay with watching. If you're good at laughing at bad things.
Mm-hmm. Because both teams are kind of like train wrecks, you know? Because they don't know what they're doing. Washington admittedly has gotten a little better, and they should be better next stage. But
Something's wrong with Florida.
yeah,
I don't know what.
probably the fact that it's a Florida team.
I think
Florida's just disgusting.
it's got to be a communication thing because they've got decent players on their team.
Yeah, but then, like, I don't think either of them know how to manage alt economy. Like, they don't really manage their alts well. People just trance whenever.
Yeah. The main thing that we noticed watching Washington versus Florida was, wow, why'd that person alt there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why'd that person go alone there?
And then, I'll make this argument to the day I die.
Here we go.
But people are always talking about, like, because each of these teams does have good people on them. Not pieces, because they're actual people. But Washington's biggest problems are, like, the one that bothers me the most is San Sam, and people seem to think he's some sort of diva god.
You hate San Sam.
I don't hate
You hate him. Remember? You know why you hate him? Because
Why?
at the beginning of the season, I was like, San Sam's going to be the best gosh darn player on the whole league. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I thought that was a joke.
At the time it was, but now I'm going to pretend that it wasn't a joke because he's been doing decent. Here's what... From what you told me, you don't think he's good because people are just saying he's good because he gets grav bombs once in a while.
And then, well, like, his positioning's kind of dog shit, especially in goats, where, like, the whole point is that you're next to each other, and then he's usually not. And then he gets these two-man grav bombs where you're like, that's exactly what should have happened. That's what the point of doing this is. So,
yeah, but I don't. But here's the thing: how many grav bombs have you seen where nobody died because that's what goats is?
I've seen a couple, but it's not.
It happens pretty often.
Yeah, but the Ryan Shield's not moving because of San Sam's bomb. It's someone else that, like, opens it up for that to happen, or there's just no Ryan in it.
Maybe.
No, I'm telling you that's what happened.
Yeah, but
Like, it's a boop or a charge or something.
But
San Sam jumps out of his mech. Little Diva's not going to do anything. He's just hoping that the Ryan Shield doesn't block it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I've watched a couple games with you where a grav bomb happens, and then you go, ooh, good placement. But whenever San Sam does it, you go, what an absolute garbage trash player. I hope he gets traded away.
Well, okay. My biggest problem is that people are like, San Sam's the only good part about this Washington team.
That's
and it's
false.
Like, clearly not.
Yeah.
You've got Azaria, who's top 20 in damage per 10 minutes. I think he
got the most points for us. We're talking about Corey, by the way.
Yeah.
He got the most points for us in our fantasy team last week, like this past week.
Now, Corey's 15th in damage per 10 minutes, just cracked 10,000 this week. But he's low in eliminations and final blows. Final blows is kind of... I haven't compared him against others, and I'm not going to do that right now. But eliminations, that's kind of a whole team thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, he's doing well. He's dying, obviously, because the team's kind of dog shit.
It's kind of like guys, I got this person really, really low. Anybody gonna do it? And it's like, nah.
Mm-hmm. When it's like, San Sam could just have flown in there.
Or anyone else on the team.
Pop. Well, it's easiest for Sam.
I know, I just think you hate San Sam.
Well, I do.
Well, there you go.
If he ever tries to come on this podcast, I will go to his house.
And take him off the podcast?
I don't know.
San Sam, if you're watching or listening, hey, I'll interview you. We don't have to bring Calder.
Also, Corey's from Philadelphia, and you know what happens in Philadelphia?
It stays in Philadelphia.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh.
Anyway.
And speaking of sun, Florida not getting much lately. Because they've been kind of in the dark as far as what to do in games. Got him. But yeah, both teams looked lost, but even just... Washington started off pretty strong, and then around map... It was pretty much map 1 and 2, Washington looked half decent.
Mm-hmm.
Then map 3 and 4, both teams looked bad, but Florida came out on top. And then map 5 was a contest for who could throw the most. Yeah. And Florida won who could throw the most, therefore resulting in a Washington win.
Yeah, it's not even like Washington really crushed them.
No.
And when we're saying this, I am thinking, like, why did we pick this to talk about? But it's because Washington could probably... I say they end with...
I look at these two teams and I think Washington does have some even if it's a little bit, some potential.
Mm-hmm.
Florida, they should, but even the games they win, they just look dead.
Mm-hmm. It's because they're not all Swedish anymore.
I saw a comment on Reddit on the match thread that said, winners from this match, Otto. Losers from this match, Washington, Florida, the viewers, the casters, the live audience, the
was this
coaches.
Casting that?
I'm not sure who was casting this. But
anyway.
Yeah, pretty much everyone lost in this match except Otto, and I'm very happy that after 2 seasons Otto finally got a win, and he thanked his parents, and it was very nice.
Now the other thing with this team is they're getting Arc, or they have gotten him Arc,
which came out today, or as of recording this. We're recording this Monday. Big boy news. So
he'll be replacing Fozix, I guess.
I don't think so. I think he'll be replacing Hyunyu, or however you pronounce that.
Hyunyu doesn't play that much, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, so...
They don't need 3 main healers.
No, but you don't think Arc's going to start?
No, I'm saying Arc's going to start, Fozix will be the backup, and Hyunyu's probably not going to be on the team anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, he'll be replacing Fozix
on the main
starter.
Okay. We agree. Guys, that was called a miscommunication where we both agreed on something.
Stupid idiot. Hyunyu. You're just excited for John Wick 3, aren't you?
I haven't seen John Wick 2 yet.
I was writing a list of movies that I want to see. And there's a bunch.
I should also do that and then see how many line up, and then we'll do it together.
Okay.
Okay. Are you talking about movies in general or movies coming out?
Coming out.
Okay, that makes things easier. Anyway, this
this
ain't no film buff podcast. Who watches films? I do.
I don't know, maybe your fucking mom.
So much chair hitting today.
Maybe your mom, you little pussy.
Okay, well, too much. Anyway, the
you smell like rice.
It seems you've thrown me off. Ark said on his Discord that apparently he didn't know he was getting traded. It like took him by surprise, which sucks. There's a lot of people who are saying like, I've been a New York fan since pre-season 1, but I don't know if I can if they blindsided my little baby boy Ark like that.
Like when you first told me that, when you were like, "Oh, Ark didn't know he was getting traded," I was kind of like, "Oh, that's weird," but it makes sense because that's kind of how trades work. Like you can't tell someone before you trade them, because then.
Well, from like the most of the past trades, it's been like, hey, you're gonna get more playtime on this other team, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I'd rather that, and then they go. But it seems like this was like, oh, by the way, Ark, we just traded you to Washington, and he was like, oh.
But that's just how trades work. Like it was weird how they were doing transfers before in the league. I think I said that on the podcast before. I was like, why are they just giving up Fissure? Like, why is London just giving away Fissure? It doesn't make sense.
Here's the thing: I don't think they got him for free. They probably paid.
No, but it's just like you didn't want anything. You just wanted some money, but they didn't. They barely even spent the money. They got rid of players.
Yeah, they spent the money on making funny videos where the team reads comments on the internet.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna make him do well.
That face was great.
It's not weird for a player not to know that they're going to be traded.
No.
It's just...
But it's weird for them not to tell a nice little baby boy like Ark.
But they did. They told him when he was traded.
Yeah, but
if you can't trade someone, why are you going to tell... Like, if they went up to him, they're like, oh, we're going to trade you to Washington. and then that deal didn't go through, then what? Then he just knows that you're trying to trade him? That's bad for chemistry.
No, it's not bad for chemistry.
Yeah, it is, because the one guy knows you don't want him on the team.
Yeah, but he's going to get traded.
Yeah. So why would he be happy where he is? He's just like, oh, you're just going to get rid of me whenever the first chance you get? This has happened like 100 times this season in basketball.
Although, let me say this, though. Okay? Let me say this, though. Two things. One, Overwatch fans, and I know, you'll probably have a comment on this, but something Monty has said a lot is, like, everyone's getting so attached to specific players and teams to the point where they're angry when their player gets traded or benched. And it's like, it's a sport.
Mm-hmm.
They have to make the best team. So,
Yeah.
like, I think it's a lot of that where most, maybe not most, but actually it's almost definitely most of the Overwatch League viewers aren't, like, sports fans, so they don't really realize that it's normal for that to happen. But at the same time, it doesn't... I see why people don't like that, because, like, esports is, I think, different from normal sports, because in sports, you cheer for the team, and you always cheer for the team no matter who's on the team. But I feel like in esports, it's much more player-based.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll bring up League of Legends. Like, a lot of the time when, like, there was a TSM roster in League of Legends that had a ton of fans. So many people were cheering for it. And then they let 3 out of the 5 players go and traded them away to different teams. And TSM still has a large fan base, but, like, their fan base dropped quite a bit because they were like, I was cheering for those players. Like, I was cheering for that group of players as a team. I wasn't cheering for TSM as a brand. I was cheering for those players as a team. So then they, like, went off and cheered for whatever team their favorite player from TSM went on to or something like that. And I feel like it's kind of the same in Overwatch, where, like, a lot of people have said that kind of thing where it's like, I followed my favorite player when they got traded to a different team. I don't know. So I feel like even though, like, people shouldn't be super surprised that this kind of thing happens, I understand why, because I think it's okay that esports is kind of, like, different in how they view players and teams.
But that, I guess, the closest parallel to esports in traditional sports is probably basketball.
Yeah.
Just because of the team size and also that fan following dynamic. Because fans in basketball follow players. Like, the Golden State Warriors are the number one team, probably the number one largest fan base in the league because of Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. They're not the number one team because they're in Golden State.
Yeah.
So if Curry and Durant leave the Warriors, they're going to and go to some other teams like the Knicks. There's going to be a bunch of Knick fans that are Curry and Durant fans.
And I feel like basketball is one of the sports that allows personality to be shown more than other sports too, which is also what esports does. So, yeah, I feel like if there was a sport that is most like esports, it's almost definitely basketball.
And maybe we haven't hit the point yet where players are like, what the fuck, you're just trying to trade me? Like, without telling me? But you're just going to keep me on the team because you haven't gotten a good enough offer for me? Like, I'm just a piece in this puzzle?
Yeah, as someone...
Like, we're probably not at that point yet.
As someone who's not, like, it doesn't really follow basketball, like, are players genuinely more inclined to want to get traded to a worse team where they'll get play time, or a team where they won't play but they'll win?
Depends on where they are in their career. Like, and also it depends on a lot, because
I guess it
if
would
you look
depend
at the
here, too.
LeBron James Lakers thing for Anthony Davis that happened this year, LeBron James's agent leaked that the Lakers wanted to trade 5 of their young players for Anthony Davis, and then it kind of just completely fucked up that team's chemistry. Like, well, because the 5 players were just like, so this old guy comes to the team that we were drafted to, and that they wanted to build a team with us, and then he just comes here and then he tries to get rid of us all.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's happening? So if it's just in my head,
those players would probably rather go to another team where they'll actually play,
or it's just bad chemistry.
Yeah.
So they want to be on the Lakers. That's why they play there. Like, they're in love with the Lakers because they drafted them into the league. So Ark probably loves being in New York or playing for New York.
Yeah.
And if someone was just like, oh, we're just going to trade you for this better guy or just for like $200,000, then like that didn't happen. And he knew that they just wanted $200,000 for him.
Yeah.
It'd make him feel kind of shitty, I'm assuming.
Yeah, because I feel like another thing is, and this is something that esports has over sports like basketball, like the team's online presence is like a huge thing. Like almost every team posts a ton of online content with their players trying to and each player has a Twitter account where they tweet a bunch of stuff and they're like building a brand. A lot of them stream. So like personality is a huge thing. So like for like one full season plus an off season and the beginning of this season, we've seen a ton of content online of Ark hanging out with his buds on the NYXL. And then all of a sudden to be like, oh, he was blindsided. I mean, obviously his teammates didn't blindside him. They probably didn't know any more than he did. But like, it's just a thing of like, I think some people see it as like, oh, he's being ripped away from his friends.
Yeah.
Which people don't like. But
And I get that. It's just, if I was the manager, I wouldn't want to gamble with let's tell him we're trying to trade him, and then maybe we trade him.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to mess with that.
And honestly, I bet if Ark is like upset or sad, I only think it'll last a little bit, because like he's friends with Giannis, he's friends with Wizard Hyung. Like he literally went out to lunch with them, and people thought he was going to be traded to Washington in the off season. It just happened a little later than we thought. So,
yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because we were talking, we were like, oh, he had dinner with the other 2 ex-NYXL players. He's probably going to get traded, and then he didn't. And it just happened now. So, honestly, I think it's good for Washington. It's good for Ark. It's probably good for New York just because they have some clarity.
Ark also wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't going to get starting time over Animo.
And honestly, the thing is, it's not that Ark is worse than Animo. They're honestly pretty darn equal. It's just... Oh, my computer just went black. I think we're fine. Yeah, we're fine.
Well, they were both chosen for Team Korea.
Yeah, they were both chosen for Team Korea, and then originally Ark was on the main roster, and then it switched to Animo, and they also switched some other players out. And it's just a coaching thing. Wizard Hyung always preferred Ark, and I forget the current player, or the current NYXL coach, but he always preferred Animo.
Oh, is it like Coach 815? I don't remember.
NYXL coach. But yeah, I just feel like it's good for everybody, because Ark is very good. So put him on a team that will play him. And honestly, with a coach that has worked with him before and will have good chemistry with him. He has good chemistry with Giannis.
It's not like he was traded to Florida, where he knows no one and that team's kind of doomed. Like, at least Washington has gotten better over the season. Yeah. Even if that's just a little bit.
Yeah. And this will largely increase their skill as well.
Yeah.
Also, Pavane is the current
Pavane.
head coach of New York. Yeah, he's always been more of an Animo guy, and then Wizard Hyung was always more of an art guy. So, yeah, this is good, I think, for everybody. It's just kind of tough right now because it's like being ripped away. But
Yeah.
everyone will be fine.
Also, they all live in LA still.
Yeah, they'll still hang out. Literally,
And they're in
everyone.
the same
Everyone thought Dante was gonna lose all of his Shock friends. They still hang out like every day.
And they're also in the same conference for when they do localize, so they'll be playing against each other a lot.
Yeah, and this just adds another storyline, baby.
Now, just give me the draft, Nathaniel.
Nathaniel Nyanyer. We should talk about that sometime. Let's talk about that when we do the off-season week.
Okay.
Because we got a special boy. And by special boy, I mean it'll be an interesting episode. Anyway, yeah. So the Washington-Florida game was kind of a clown fiesta, but it's good to see Washington somewhat improve, and it's sad to see Florida. Or it's not that sad to see Florida crumble even more. For those of you who know Bench Mob, who has made power rankings for every week in the preseason, blah, blah, blah. So after week 5, he made power rankings, and Florida isn't even on there. They've been replaced by the University of Waterloo collegiate team. The TESPA tournament thing. And that's just
we
funny.
have some friends that go to Waterloo.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird that is Benchmark a Canadian thing?
I don't
or
think
is
so. I saw
University of Waterloo just doing really well.
Well, no, I think literally, because in last week's power rankings, he said, because he puts little comments beside each team, beside Florida, he said, if they lose to the Justice, I'm replacing them with a TESPA team. And then in the in the Twitter comments, I think the head coach of the University of Waterloo team just said, I offer my team to be the thing, and he's like, okay, cool, I'm fine with that, and then he did it. So it was just because he was there. Although I think I checked and they've won the past couple. So honestly, it's funny that
I don't know how to make sense of this website.
It's funny that our friends go to University of Waterloo and they play Overwatch, but they're not on the Overwatch team. Ha ha ha.
Well, they're trash.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so that's the Florida-Washington game.
I bet you University of Waterloo is just like the people that play them are just like, it's an all-Korean team. What's going on?
Yeah. So we we're going to talk about the standings. I went to the schedule on the website, and it doesn't have the teams put into their
No, I was
brackets.
thinking that's because of the ties. Like Philly and Toronto were tied, and I don't believe they played each other. And then Shock and Seoul are also tied, and I don't think they played each other either.
Yeah, apparently it goes to map differential.
But
and
that's
then,
the same.
Yeah, I know, but then it goes to head-to-head win. No, head-to-head map differential. And then head-to-head win. And then if that's all the same, then it's a play-in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people were saying that Fusion and Toronto are going to have a play-in.
Yeah. Did Seoul and Shock play? I don't remember.
No.
So would they have to too?
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be broadcasted or not, though. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like... Because what's the schedule for the... What's the schedule for the playoffs?
It starts on the Thursday.
Okay, so it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So if they do have to do a play-in thing, they'll probably have to do it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We will see.
And I'm really excited for this larger format that they have. The 8 teams instead of 3 or 4.
Yeah. It's more full. Because last season it seemed like, oh, it's the stage playoffs. Oh, they're over. Because it was like 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's, when we're talking about this, let's just assume that it'll be in the order. So like Philly will play Shock. New York will play Seoul, because we can't know really. So for everyone listening, that's what we're gonna do. So right now we have Vancouver and Boston.
That's
likely gonna be
a Vancouver win.
I call that a 3-1 maybe.
Yeah, I say 3-1.
I think that Boston might be able to pull something freaky out for a map.
I'd say even maybe possibly a 2-1. But I don't think it'll go. It could, but I don't think it'll go to a 3-2.
No.
Boston hasn't looked that good. They've looked pretty good, but they haven't looked that good.
Now, we can also talk about the schedule difficulty too.
Ooh, yeah. Let's talk about that after.
Okay. So then we've got New York and Seoul. Now, on paper, this could be one of the best games this season.
But in real life,
probably just going to be an easy clap for New York.
Yeah.
Unless they forgot how to play Overwatch, ate spicy noodles, and also broke both of their hands.
Yeah.
So, all of them, everyone on the team.
Yeah.
Even the coach.
Yeah. Because, they should stop eating spicy noodles.
I think they have.
If Seoul is smart, they'll send a box or like a private caterer to the New York's room with things of spicy noodles.
The last time New York and Seoul played, New York won 3-1.
Seems
that was
right.
Also the week that Seoul lost 3-1 to Boston. The next week, Seoul beat Washington, not very large of an accomplishment, and then they beat London. So, like, Seoul's been winning, but they haven't played a lot of tough games. Like Boston, Washington, they play Chengdu, which is a good team, but this is a week 2 Chengdu?
Yeah, there's a week 2.
Not really as good as last week's Chengdu.
Yeah.
London, which is kind of a pushover now, because EU Goats is the worst Goats. They beat Gladiators and lost to Dallas. Like, the Seoul team's not got a hard schedule this year.
They Seoul, when they win, they look great, but when they lose, they look very bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're not very consistent. And it's not like they're winning against easy teams, losing against harder teams. They're winning and losing against both of those things.
Yeah.
So.
Now, Boston and Dallas are like 2 spots under them, so they're not the worst teams.
Yeah.
But, that's not New York.
Yeah. So I say New York win there.
Yeah.
Philly versus Shock, assuming that this is how it plays out. I say that's an easy clapper for San Fran.
Really? I'd say that too.
I don't. Philly had we'll get to this in a sec, but they had the easiest stage ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Shock had a very difficult stage, and they're still in the top 8. So
the best team that Philly faces, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Who's 5th on here.
Yeah.
So. I think the Shock can win, which will be nice. Also, Rip Seoul's first time in the stage playoffs.
Yeah, I was about to say this is the first time, not including expansion teams. This is the first time that both Seoul and San Fran have made it into stage playoffs, and that's Hugo. And
For
cool.
both.
Yeah.
Mostly
Shock because they've been waiting. It's not because they've almost made it a ton of times. It's just because they've been waiting. They've been waiting for this. This is their moment. Seoul, it's just because they've been so close.
How close did they get last season? What was the closest?
I think they were like 1 out almost every single stage.
No, they were 9th for the first 2 stages. Then in stage 3, when it was 4 teams, they were 5 maps out. That's 1 spot to make them too bad. So that they were 5th instead of 4th. And then they were, it looks like 1 game out of stage 4.
And then I think they were also, I think they were the same as Houston, where one map win would have gotten them into the season
Overall
playoffs.
playoffs?
Yeah.
No, they were worse. They were pretty far out, my boy.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They were 9th with a 17-23 record. Houston had a 22-18 record. So they needed a bunch of map wins.
Okay.
And Philly had a 24-16 record. So
yeah,
those
I
weren't
think
really
with
close.
Houston it was if they took one of the map 5s against Philly, they would have been in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I thought Seoul was similar, but I guess not. But yeah, I say that's a San Fran win.
Yeah. And then...
well, let me quickly do this. And I also think it's a San Fran win if they face Toronto.
Yeah.
I think that would actually be closer. Believe it or not.
And then I think Seoul would be... Oh, wait, no, Seoul's playing New York now.
Yeah. Now, Atlanta versus Toronto.
Wait, no, Seoul could play Philly.
No.
Yeah, they could.
Why?
Because you just switch the Shock and Seoul. So then Shock would be playing New York. So if Seoul plays Philly, I think Seoul win.
I think that would be the closest of them. But yeah, I think that would be a Seoul win as well.
And then San Fran maybe
Beats.
goes to map 5 against New York.
Yeah. And I don't know who wins that, but probably New York.
Probably New York.
But it would be close. And then Atlanta versus either Toronto or Philly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they lost in map 5 to Philly, and they won.
I think they beat Philly.
I think they beat Philly as well. I think even though they lost more games in the second half of the stage than in the beginning of the stage, I think Atlanta have improved at about the same rate that Philly has started to look worse. I guess I should say. Yeah. And
I think
it's
close against Toronto.
Yeah, because when they faced Toronto, they beat them 3-1, but that was like early stage Toronto, and Toronto's only been getting better. So I think.
Did they even have a Neko when they played?
No. Because Neko was suspended for like 3 or 4 games, and they played pretty early on.
Oh yeah, it was the game before Neko came back, I think.
Yeah. But Atlanta, honestly, I think that the closest possible games would be Philly versus Seoul and Toronto versus Atlanta.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But Toronto versus Atlanta, I think... Honestly, I don't know. I think that could go either way. Definitely a map 5 game. But I'm going to say Atlanta because I have to.
Now, looking forward to next stage, is there any team that you think either jumps or drops a lot? Now, just pick one.
A lot? Can I
I
pick
can go
one jumper, one dropper?
Yeah, one jumper, one dropper. I can give you mine if you want me to go first.
Yeah, you go first.
So my jumper is going to be the Spark.
Okay.
I have some irrational confidence in the Spark. And then my dropper is going to be the Dallas Fuel.
Interesting. Hot take.
Because I'm not sure. They've looked semi-shaky. Better than last year, but still semi-shaky. And I don't know how they do in a DPS meta, if that's what it switches to, which hopefully is what it switches to.
Interesting.
And I think Hangzhou just has a lot of firepower at DPS that they haven't been able to use, mostly Crystal.
Yeah. All right. I was afraid you were going to take my jumper and dropper, and you did neither. So my jumper is going to be the Chengdu Hunters.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I think they've already jumped throughout the stage, proving that they're not just a ball.
Mm-hmm. In ways. Atlanta, they looked yikes on goats, but hopefully that's not what they have to deal with next stage.
Yeah. And seeing Jinmu on Pharah gives me hope for that team.
So much hope.
So I think Chengdu will jump up.
And I didn't even realize this before, but Chengdu is in a good place overall standing. Because they're 3 and 4, like pretty much every other team that didn't make it into the stage playoffs. It's just their map differential's kind of sucky right now, but they're only -8.
They could fix that in a couple games and immediately be in the middle of the pack instead of the bottom middle.
Yeah.
And then my dropper, shoot, who's my dropper? I was originally gonna say Vancouver just because, but they got into the Apex finals multiple times when it wasn't Goats Comp, so I think they'll be fine, honestly.
Was it Goats Comp when they won Contenders?
I think so. I think it was. Okay. But yeah, they were in the finals multiple seasons when it wasn't Goats Comp, so I actually don't think they're going to drop as much as I previously thought.
I could see them drop to, like, 4th.
Yeah, I don't think they'll drop out of playoff contention at all. But my dropper, I think...
Who's giving you some irrational confidence here? Because that's usually who's going to drop.
I'm going to make a hot take.
Oh, yikers.
I think my dropper is Paris. Notice how they're 4th last. I think they're going to be passed by Washington and Valiant next stage.
Yeah. We should also tell the people at home when we figured out Paris lost, we said, oh, good.
Yeah.
Like when we figured out they couldn't get into the stage playoffs because neither of us thought they deserved it.
Yeah. I forget who tweeted it, but someone tweeted saying, it's funny how in 4 weeks we managed to underrate, then extremely overrate, and then... Or no, it was overrate, then extremely underrate, and then extremely overrate one team in 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Because before the stage, everyone was like, they're going to be bad. And then first 2 weeks, everyone was like, oh, they're going to be absolutely amazing. And now everyone's like, oh, they're the worst team I've ever seen in my life.
The latest goats alive.
EU goats, best goats.
Got him.
Fourth last place. Anyway, so I think I know when you said dropper, you meant like who's going to drop a ton.
Well,
but I just think they might be passed by, and I mean in the stage. Overall standings, I don't know if they'll be passed by Washington and Valiant, but next stage.
Honestly, they could.
They could.
Like,
I don't know if they could be passed overall by Valiant. Actually, Valiant's map differential's pretty decent for being 0-7.
Yeah. And they only have 3 wins. And then Washington has 1, Valiant has 0. Like,
Valiant has more map wins than Paris. They have 10 map wins, and Paris has 9.
So
honestly, yeah, you're right.
Like, this early in the season, it's not that crazy to be like, Valiant could pass... Even in the next stage, they could pass Paris.
Yeah. I'm just saying...
Because let's say Paris wins another 3, and then Valiant goes on, like, a win streak because they figure it out.
I'm just specifying my hot take by saying I think Washington and Valiant will be higher than Paris in the Stage 2 standings.
Okay.
Those are my takes. Chengdu, jump. Paris, drop.
And then for me, it was Hangzhou, jump.
Dallas drop. Yeah. Although, just a real quickie boy, I also think London will jump quite a bit because they're bad at goats, but they've got profit. So I think if it's a DPS-centered thing, they'll do better.
Yeah. London's kind of perplexing.
Yeah. Perplexed me. And want to talk about the stage strength?
Yeah. This is just a little quickie thing. I think
Quickie
it
Ricky.
was done by dividing by 0. He's much larger Overwatch YouTuber than we are.
Yeah.
but he devised a way to measure your stage schedule strength for each team, and it kind of proves a couple things. Now, the way he does it is a little broken because he uses map wins and losses, but it shows that Philly has had one of the easiest stages, like by far.
Yeah.
Which you can kind of tell by looking at the schedule. Like, it's not that surprising when you look at who they've played. It's like they haven't really played anyone good. Atlanta's their best team they played against.
Yeah, a brand new 8-man roster. Actually, I think they're at 9 now. 9-man roster expansion team is the hardest team you played against, then you did not have a difficult stage.
And then Valiant had one of the harder ones, which, looking at their stage 2, they play Vancouver and New York and Toronto, Hangzhou, Guangzhou, Houston, and Philly. So you're playing the top three teams? I don't know. Top 4 teams based off standings, though Philly can kind of be discounted, but still, it's the top 4 teams.
Yeah. And
And then some other unknown teams that you haven't really played before, and then Houston, who they probably shouldn't have lost to. But
yeah. Yeah, and then Paris also had a very difficult stage, so maybe we're wrapping on them too much, but I don't care. And
yeah, it's not. I guess Valiant's looked like dog shit too, though.
Yeah, but Chengdu had the 3rd hardest stage, and they're still somewhat decent in the standings, even after being considered one of the worst teams.
Well,
by
they're
pretty
tied
much
with
everybody.
Paris now.
Yeah. So, honestly, Chengdu doing pretty well considering.
And then the Shocker Boys are 4th, which, is not surprising because we are one of the stronger teams in the world.
Okay. Pretty much the fact that Shock is like, what are they, top 6? They're top 6, top 5?
Top 6.
And had the 4th most difficult stage is super impressive. Because, honestly, they are, not including Boston, they're the only team in the playoffs, the stage playoffs, in the top 10 that have had the top 10 hardest stages. Boston is 8th.
Yeah. And Boston just kind of squeaked in, too.
Yeah.
Which, I know that sounds like I'm discounting them, but
like,
it's just my Shock better than
Shock had a significantly harder schedule than pretty much everybody in the playoffs. So, honestly, shows how good they are. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So, and then at the bottom, Philly, Vancouver, Atlanta, they all had pretty easy stages. And then London and Hangzhou and Florida all had pretty easy stages. And all 3 of them are pretty low in the standings, even though their stages are easy.
Yeah.
So that's a yikes.
I'm not sure how much this actually tells us, but it does kind of match up with.
It's pretty general.
Are.
It's pretty general as far as like, this is approximately how difficult it was for them. So it kind of makes you go, okay, give Valiant a little bit of slack, and it also makes you go, maybe stop praising Philadelphia as the best team the world has ever seen,
Yeah. And honestly, maybe we stop praising that Vancouver has one of the best teams.
I think you just hate them. We'll see. Honestly, as much as I want Atlanta and Shock to go far in the stage playoffs, I feel like if we didn't get a Vancouver versus New York game, it would be very disappointing.
Yeah, it would be.
So, I'm hoping for that.
Like, I do still see that happening, because whatever team Vancouver plays, they don't, like, it's not like they're Chengdu where they throw crazy stuff at Vancouver, which is Vancouver's weakness. Now, can Shock or Seoul or Boston maybe do that? Maybe even Atlanta do that because of just how many, actually not really Atlanta, but how many, actually not even Boston, mostly just Shock and Seoul. Can they do some different strategies because they have so many players on their team that could be practicing different things every week?
I think that if Seoul played their non-fissure roster, the one that they played against, I think it was Florida, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that might throw them off because they're probably going to be studying for how to fight fissure. So,
but have you seen how many people are on the Seoul Dynasty? Like, Seoul has a full 12-man team
yeah,
now, and they just picked up a DPS and support.
yeah.
So, Marvel's got one of the worst haircuts alive. Sorry. Seoul could like figure out a strategy where they have some projectiles or something. I don't know. It's not impossible for someone to beat Vancouver. I don't think.
Agreed.
It's unlikely, though.
I don't think it's impossible for any team to beat any team.
Yeah. But I'd put New York more unbeatable than Vancouver. I'd say New York's more unbeatable. Just for the entire league.
Interesting. I was actually talking about the Overwatch League in class today because I had to do a presentation and I was wearing my Outlaws performance jacket. And someone was like, ew, the Outlaws? And I was like, I know, they're doing very bad. And then, someone said, I don't even know what sport they were referencing, but they were like, why don't you just cheer for the whatever and said a team that I'm guessing is like undefeated all the time. Oh yeah, he said, why don't you just cheer for the Patriots? And then the guy who said, ew, the Outlaws, he went, that's Overwatch. And then the guy was like, okay, what's the Overwatch equivalent of the Patriots? And I was like, probably New York. And he was like, why don't you cheer for New York? And I'm like, because only winning all the time's boring.
Also, if you're a New York fan and then you lose, weak. That's why I'm strong like a bull. I went through the Shock's turmoil last season.
And I was right there with you.
Fan.
I've endured 2 seasons of Outlaws being just not good enough.
They are in a play-in tournament for now.
For now, that's true. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm excited for this week.
Yeah, I'm very hyped up, as they say.
Us also comes out this week, which is fun.
You know
New
what?
Jordan Peele movie.
I know we shouldn't make plans on the podcast, but maybe we should get together and watch Us and then watch the playoffs.
That'd be fun.
Cool. Are we done?
Can I bring my girlfriend so we can kiss?
Oh.
No,
All
you
right,
and
we'll
I
do
can
it another time. We'll do it. Oh.
No, you and I can kiss.
And she watches? Okay, we can do that. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Broverwatch podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check out our website at thebroverwatch.com, where all of our social medias and audio links are there as well. And be sure to read the articles from our boys. Also, I guess I should say this, be sure to check out the Hack the Planet podcast. A bunch of our writers from the Broverwatch have started a Contenders podcast. And they've been killing it, doing their thing over there. So go check that out. That is in association. It's in association with us, brought to you by the Overwatch League Network, right? It's brought to you by them, associated with us, I believe. Anyway, because, yeah, they're doing some cool stuff over there. So go check their podcast out if you're into Contenders, because we more cover the main league. Yeah, and they're doing well. There you go. If you enjoyed, do the things that show that you enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like comment, like, subscribe, retweet,
Kiss.
reblog.
That was spooky, I guess.
I don't know what it was. It was I believe you're looking for the word cringy.
I'm scared. Can you finish this now so you don't do anything else that's creepy?
Bye, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
What'd you think of that?